Hey family, welcome back. MarshaunO here, your favorite life and relationship strategist, and you keep coming back to MarshaunO because you want to be a part of the top 1% of couples that have extraordinary relationships. Now, I help women that are married or in long-term relationships stop feeling disconnected and unloved and shift into feeling appreciated, heard, all while creating the intimate moments that she deserves. Now, we're going to talk about marriage. We're going to talk about how marriage and why marriage is not a walk in the park. I think that so many people have the misconceptions that the things that they are dealing with while they are in a relationship, i.e. girlfriend and boyfriend or even engaged, those difficult things specifically will just automatically go away. And hate to bust your bubble, they do not. They actually, what happens is you get even more irritated. You get even more frustrated with those things because now it is till death do you part for those things to annoy you day in and day out. And they might even annoy you to the point where you decide to pick fights because this thing is annoying you. And really deep down inside, it's really not that thing that's annoying you. It's something else that you are letting to sit inside of you and fester. And now all of a sudden it's coming out in the form of you saying something mean, rude, or just downright nasty to your spouse because you did not deal with the original thing, or you kept sweeping the original things under the rug, which is why I always talk about communication, and I always talk about doing the things that you wouldn't normally do, i.e. having those tough conversations. So again, you are not constantly sweeping these things under the rug. You are not letting your rug pile create this big old hump. So all of a sudden, one day you just start tripping over this thing. No, you are constantly, especially in the beginning, especially if this is something new, a new behavior, a new habit, you have to address these things and say, you know what, babe, I was actually thinking that I'm sick and tired of actually being in this relationship like this. I'm sick and tired of being in this marriage like this. And so what can we both do in order to improve this relationship? Does that mean that we actually sit down and deal with one of the things each week and actually start working on these things each week? Do we need to get outside help from a coach or a counselor or a therapist or a priest, pastor, somebody, an elderly person, a respected elder in your family or even outside of your family? Like, what do we need to do? Because something has got to change. Something has got to change. And so marriage is not a walk in the park. However, it could be if you knew why it's not a walk in the park. That way you're able to take the information and apply it. Because I always say applied knowledge is better. It's better than just knowledge is power. Applied knowledge, the application of what you're learning here is what's going to actually give you the power in order to shift and change your relationship all around, especially if that is something deep down in your heart that you want to do, which is shift and change your relationship. You have to do the things that are going to make you very uncomfortable, that are going to make you very frail and fragile at times. It's because of the nerve. You don't know how it's going to be received. Is your partner going to want to participate? Are they as just sick and tired as you are? Are they doing the thing or behaving a certain way or continuing with the habits because this is something that they learn and this is the only thing that they know? And because change is hard for most of us, that they fall into that category, and so they do not want to change. You have the power. Each and every one of us have the power to create the marriage, to create the relationship that we want. So without further ado, let's talk about the things that you need to do, the reasons why marriage is not a walk in the park. The first thing is we're not prepared for marriage. Most of us prepare for the wedding. Most of us prepare for just being in a relationship. Most people do not seek help prior to, because especially if everything is going well, we don't think that we need the help. But coaching, counseling, these are the people, the therapists, these are the people that's either been there, done that, or they can tell you from experience and or from the people that they've been helping over the years What keeps coming up? These are the things that you can actually sit down and say, when this occurs, because trust and believe there are going to be situations that you are not going to be happy about when you get into your marriage, because you have to remember you are two different people coming together from two different environments, two different backgrounds, and two different types of two different sets of behaviors as well as habits. And so because you guys did not grow up in the same household, thank God for that, no inbreeding, because you didn't grow up in the same household, because you more than likely didn't even grow up in the same community, you both do things differently. So we don't prepare. We're not as prepared as we think we are when it's time to say I do. How many obstacles have you guys gone through? And you don't want them, they don't always have to be huge obstacles. They could just be obstacles for you and your man, for you and your woman. What obstacles have you been through that you had to sit down and really had to hash it out to say, this is not going well at all. What can we do in order to fix this? And the more that you do this before you get married, the better you will be when you are married. The happier you will continue to be once you do say I do. Prepare for marriage. Prepare yourself to say, you know what, we're going to be two different people. Prepare yourself to say, you know what, the things that he does, the things that she does currently are going to still be there. So for instance, if he does not listen, if she does not listen, that's still going to be there once you say I do. If he is dirty, if she is dirty, and what I mean by dirty, okay, don't come for me, but what I mean by dirty is they don't clean up after themselves. Like maybe they are the person that comes in the house and just takes off their clothes and they throw them everywhere. To me, that's dirty. But so that's my form of dirty, my definition, right? You can pick them up, whatever. My point is this: whatever the thing is, whatever those things are that annoy the crap out of you now, they will continue to annoy the crap out of you when you get married. And guess what? They will even heighten your annoyance once you get married, because now you have to deal with this person day in and day out. But on top of that, especially when a fight occurs, that thing that he or she does goes and takes you to another level. That literally could be the straw that broke the camel's back once you get married. So if you cannot handle the annoying things that he does, the annoying things that she does to you right now, you're not going to last in your marriage. You're not. And that's just me being point blank. You're not going to last in your marriage. If you get super annoyed with the stuff right now and you're ready to throw in the towel, do not get married right now. We are not prepared for the challenges that marriage takes us through. We are not prepared for the breaking down of oneself. What do I mean by breaking down of oneself? For you to be broken down, for you to be stripped of your individuality, for you guys to be able to come together as one, for you to really, really know deep down in your soul, both of you, that you actually need each other in order to build a successful, happy relationship. It cannot be one-sided. It has to be both of you. And until you both know this and actually agree to it and actually start acting on it, act as if your life depends on it, your survival of your relationship, because it actually does, it is not going to work. It's not. So we have to be prepared for some of the challenges that are going to come, the breaking down and the stripping of just it being you being selfish, you being scared, having trust issues, all of this stuff that you have right now is going to continue to surface in the marriage. We are not as prepared as we think we are. The second thing, only one spouse wants to work on things. What is that? The marriage can only last so long. You can only give it your all so long before somebody throws in the towel. And especially if this happens one person over and over and over and over again, and there is just never no change. There is never any attempt to change. You have been getting it this way for years. And why should you change? At some point, your spouse is going to be exhausted. and feeling like, why am I even here? I can do all of this stuff by myself. He is not giving anything. She is not giving anything. So why am I wearing my ass out for this relationship? And I'm the only one that's wearing my ass out for this relationship. Literally, I had a previous client just reach out to me today and said that she's in a similar situation like I just explained. Basically, she's always the one doing the work, trying to make the relationship better, and her husband just really, he says one thing, but his actions never match up to what his words are. And she literally just told me that she talked to her husband about a divorce. Now, this is after a decade. And so after a while, listen, in the Bible, and I don't know the verse, but I know you can find it. In the Bible, it actually talks about women experiencing long suffering. We can long suffer for a while. A decade is a long time, but it also says that the long suffering will not last forever. A decade is a long time, but it's not forever. And so guess what? As much as I do not like the fact that she wants to walk away, that she wants to give up, I also don't like the fact that he never, ever, ever matches up. His words never ever match up to what the promises are. It's always broken promise after broken promise after broken promise. And so how much more, how much time does she need to stay there to give to him? This is going to be different for each person, but why even let it get this far is my point. Why even let it get this far? If only one person is willing to work on things, at some point your relationship is going to crumble and fall, because at some point the other person is just going to give up. And for each person, that stage, that time frame is different. In the lady's case that I just mentioned, hers is a decade, or actually it's just under a decade, but still almost 10 years into it. And now it's just like, what am I doing here? Why am I still suffering and going through this all by myself? Another thing, why marriage is not a walk in the park. Because you have no idea how hard it is to become one. I mentioned this earlier about the stripping down of your individuality and coming together as one. That is a very, very, very tough time. That is one of the roughest times in your relationship. That is one of the roughest times in your marriage. And it usually happens in the first few years of your marriage. The stripping down of your each individual people in order to build a healthy relationship. And if you cannot get past these years of stripping down you being selfish, stripping down you always just doing things by yourself, stripping down you only taking care of your part of the finances, or not sharing your part of the finances, or whatever it is, if you be selfish the entire first few years of your marriage, you will not last. You will not. If you are a selfish person, you need to start working on that now, especially if you want to be a part of the top 1% of couples that have extraordinary relationships. Because if you're selfish, it is totally going to show up in your relationship. It's absolutely going to show up in your marriage, and it's going to show up more places than you even realize. It's going to show up in more places than you even realize once you say, I do. If selfishness is something that you struggle with, you need to start getting help now. I'm telling you, it's not going to work. There are going to be so many unnecessary fights because of you being selfish, your partner being selfish, whomever is selfish in the relationship. There's going to be so many fights, unnecessary fights. The next thing. You think that it takes both of you to turn things around. Now, I know that I just mentioned that my previous client is literally about to file for a divorce. But again, it's almost a decade. And it's been pretty much going on the entire marriage. Prior to, when they were boyfriend and girlfriend, it was great. Without going into all her backstory, it was an awesome relationship. And then something changed and shifted their entire worlds together. And her husband, it happened to her husband, and he never recovered. And so the almost decade year marriage is about to be crumbled. If your relationship can absolutely turn around with one of you being very determined to shift things. However, if the other, let me back up. That's if your partner at some point joins in the party, not with you pushing and forcing and you need to do. It's just because of your habits, your behaviors, your silencing and not going back and forth with the horrible arguments or the name calling, because you are deciding to shift and change. Now it's rubbing off onto your spouse without you ever having a conversation with your spouse. You change and then your partner follows suit. Now, in her case, my previous client, because her husband decided not to change, not to shift, not to quote unquote follow suit and become a better person for the world, but also a better person for her, his wife, that's when relationships dissolve. So you can shift and change your relationship with just one person, but at some point your spouse absolutely needs to join the party. And be aware that sometimes that can be years. It can be years sometimes. But I mean like 6 months. I know I said years, but I mean like anywhere from 6 months to 2 years before your partner starts to jump on board. But sometimes some partners do not, as I just shared with you. Some partners never jump on board and never take a stand to shift and change their relationship, in this case marriage, completely around. The next thing is that we think that everything is going to be 50-50 in a relationship. Listen, honey. No, do not fool yourself. You have to be 100% coming into the relationship. Your spouse has to be 100% coming into the relationship. And when you guys are in a relationship, sometimes it's going to be 60-40. Sometimes it's going to be 80-20. Sometimes, it could be any variation in there, 90-10. And it usually depends on the stage that you're in, depending on what your partner and yourself is able to give. Because maybe I don't have all the pressure and stress from work, stress and pressure from kids, stress and being pulled in every angle. Maybe I don't have that as the spouse. So maybe I'm the one that has to give the 80. But your partner can only give what they can give. Yes, we can push ourselves. Yes, we can go over. Yes, we're supposed to make our spouse a priority and everything. Yes. However, it will not be that way all the time. 50-50 is a fallacy. 50-50, don't do that to yourself. No. Ideally, you want it to be equal, but most times, or I should say at least, you're going to have peaks and valleys. So in those peaks and valleys, it might be equal. And at other times, it's definitely going to be off. But can you stand the test of time? Or are you going to sit around complaining? Are you going to sit around talking trash about your spouse? Are you going to go and report how horrible your spouse is, how horrible this marriage is, how horrible of a partner that you actually chose? Or are you going to say, you know what? This is where we're at today. And anytime I have the time to spend with my wife, anytime I have the time to spend with my husband, I'm actually going to be present in those few precious moments instead of complaining, instead of whining, because I know that this is the way that our relationship is set up today. We are sacrificing this for a short period of time. Can you actually do that? Again, that goes back to the preparation. That goes back to the challenges that are absolutely going to show up in your relationship. And here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, you never know what the challenges are that are going to show up in your relationship. Because maybe both of you were two healthy and whole individuals when you came into the relationship, and then something happened. Maybe an accident happened. Maybe something horrible happened where now it's not the way that it was prior to or earlier on in the marriage. And now you have to decide if you're going to stay or go. Is this person really worth it staying around for? That there are absolutely going to be some challenges in your marriage for sure. Can you stand the test of time? That is the real question. The next thing. Why marriage is not a walk in the park? Because some people keep divorce in their back pocket. Whenever they get pissed off, whenever they know that they can use it as a power play, they use it. And so whenever you make your partner feel like it is not a stable relationship, you are now walking on sinking sand. Divorce, bringing it up, making it an option, you are 1 foot in, 1 foot out the door. And anytime he or she pisses you off, you're going to throw that up. Or maybe you're even going to leave the house and actually go and file for divorce. Or maybe you're going to go and get another apartment because you have made divorce an option. Yes, some people do need to get divorced. But if you're going into it right, slowing down, asking a multitude of questions, really getting to know the person across the street from, across the table from you, and even across the bed from you, instead of just jumping in because I'm this age and we got to get married. I'm this age, I got to have a baby. I'm this age, I'm getting pressured from all of my family members, my friends. I am the only one that's still single. So soon as I find somebody, I'm going to jump in. Don't do that to yourself. Do not do that to yourself. We make divorce an option. And anytime you have options, you don't wholeheartedly jump full in on any one of them. You don't. Divorce is an option, which is why marriage is not a walk in the park. Another one. You do not slow down and see your spouse's point of view. Some of this is the selfishness that I brought up. Some of this is you not being aware this is what you're doing. And then some of it is you just don't care. I don't want to see his point of view. I don't want to see her point of view. I want him or her to do the thing that I need them to do in the moment that I need him or her to do it, because this is the moment that I said it. This is the moment that I need for it to be done, as if every single time it's going to be an emergency. Yes, your emergency. And your emergency is not necessarily your spouse's emergency. And so instead of giving your spouse the benefit of the doubt that they did not do this thing to you to just make your life really, really horrible and really, really miserable, you're just pissed off at the world because you feel, never had a conversation, but you feel, never asked them what was actually happening with him or her, because you feel that they were inconsiderate and didn't take your point of view into consideration. But the flip side of that is that you also did not take your spouse's point of view into consideration. You did not step outside of the situation and actually ask some qualifying questions to see, was it really about you or was it about something else, and he or she just, it either forgot or it slipped their mind, but it had nothing to do with you. It was nothing that you needed to take personal. That was an unnecessary fight that occurred. Slow down and see things from your spouse's point of view, and do not always make it about you. The next thing, we don't like it because it throws out our security. See, there's trust that you have to bring security in there, which is the main one. There's communication that has to be thrown in there. There is vulnerability that has to be thrown in there. There are, the coming together of your finances, the coming together of stop being selfish, the coming together of thinking about your spouse before you think about yourself, or before you make a decision. How is this going to affect your family? How is this going to affect your spouse specifically? How is it going to affect your finances? It shifts and shakes our security, especially when we have not dealt with our baggage and we're walking around and carrying around each and every one of those things that brought harm to us years ago, decades ago, but we never let it go. We don't want to pay for counseling. We don't want to pay for coaching, but you don't realize all of the years that you're losing by not seeking outside help. Because here's the truth of the matter. If you could have changed your relationship around, if you could have changed your marriage around, then you would have done it. There's something in your skill set that you are lacking, which is why you can't shift it around and change it yourself. You have to get the outside help. So don't look at therapy as a bad thing. Don't look at coaching as a bad thing. Even when things are going well, don't look at it like, why do I need to do something? What's going on? Why do we need to seek outside help? Because the person on the outside, number one, they don't have a vested interest in your relationship like the two of you do. There is no emotional attachment there like the two of you do. So they can give you, if you seek and find a good one, then he or she can give you some really, really good advice, some really, really good exercises, some things to help you shift your perspective and actually show up differently so you guys can get different results in your relationship. But looking at it like, I don't need nobody in my business. No. Listen, as a coach, I'm not going home and just thinking about your business the entire time. My job is to help you with what it is that you need help with and to show you a different way to do things, a different perspective to help you shift your mind to say, oh, well, shit, I ain't think about it like that. Exactly. And that way, next time this thing comes up, or maybe, just maybe, that shift, that aha moment that you just had will make you say, well, damn it, there's no reason for me to even talk about this anymore. Or that was just silly. That was just stupid. Why am I showing up like that? Yeah. The final point is you are disillusioned about your real spouse. Because whenever you're dating, whenever you guys, I should say before you guys say I do, there is this illusion that the person that we choose, the person that we pick to be our life partners are going to be perfect. They're never going to upset us. They're never going to disappoint us. They're never going to make us feel like crap. It just happens. Not necessarily on purpose. Not necessarily on purpose, but it definitely does happen. You will be disappointed. You will have to look at things differently. You will feel like crap sometimes because your deliveries, I talked about deliveries not too long ago, your delivery may just suck. And so because your delivery sucks, now I'm feeling like crap. Right? These are 10 reasons why it is not a walk in the park in marriage. Now, if you made it this far, definitely give me thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. And if you need help with this, guess what you need to do? Hit me up. Send me an email, Marshaun@MarshaunOlanio.com, or go to www.MarshaunO.com and set up your appointment using my Calendly link. I love you guys. There's nothing that you can do about it. Be better in your relationship so you can be a part of the top 1% of couples that have extraordinary relationships. Bye now.